Today we are going to move into the next unit, which is called inequalities. So you learned all about inequalities in 6th grade and in 7th grade, and then in 8th grade they took a little break, and now we're going to bring it back here in 9th grade Algebra 1. So what we have is, in this first example, I have x equals 4. So what that means is that the value of x has to be equal to the number 4. So only 4 is my solution of this first equation. So an equal sign means it's exactly the number 4. In this next example, it says x is less than or equal to 4. So what that means is I'm going to circle the 4. I'm going to color it in because it's less than or equal to. And then I'm going to shade everything less than or equal to the number 4. So what that means is that my x's, my solutions, could be any number from 4 and any number less. So all of these numbers are also a solution. So 3 is a solution, 2 is a solution, 1 is a solution, etc. So there's a billion numbers in the solution set, but it's any number in the shaded area. So what is the difference between this first one and the second one? Is that with an equation, we have exactly one answer. So with an equal sign, we had exactly one answer. So x equaled one answer. Whereas with an inequality, it's less than. So x could be many, many, many numbers. So it's all possible numbers. So it's any number that is less than or equal to 4. All numbers that are to the left of 4. So let's do that same thing again. Let's go here to the bottom. Okay, so we are going to look at the bottom half now. So inequality signs. So the first sign that we need to know is this sign here, less than or equal to. So the less than or equal to sign is always the sign that points to the left. So this smaller side, let's go this way. The smaller side of this symbol is on the left. This is called less than. So in this here, I'm going to go to my number line, and I'm going to circle the number -1. If there is a line below, it means I need to color in my circle. And then I shade in the direction of the arrow, so everything less goes in this direction over here. So what we have is a closed circle. We colored it in. That's called a closed circle. And we shaded everything to the left of -1. So my possible solutions. So x could be -1. X could be -2. X could be -3. And so on. Very easy. So in my next one, it says greater than or equal to. So in this one, the that side comes first. That's the greater than symbol. And it points to the right. So greater goes to the right. So what we have is we find the number -1 and we circle it. This has a line below it. So that means we need to color in the circle at -1. Greater than means shade everything to the right. Everything bigger, everything greater than -1. So this is also a closed circle, and we shaded everything to the right. Very easy. So my possible solution, so -1 is colored in, so that's a possible solution. X could be 0, x could be 1, x could be 2. Any number to the right greater than -1 is a solution. The next one is just less than. So less than is just this symbol with no line underneath it. So less than -1. I put a circle there. There is no line underneath it, so I cannot color it in. I keep it open. And then this arrow points to the left, so I'm going to draw a line with an arrow that points to the left. So this is an open circle. We did not color it in, and we shaded everything to the left. So my possible solution is not -1 because it's not colored in. X's are smaller than -1. They're all numbers that are less than -1. So -2 is a solution. Negative 3 is a solution. Negative 4 is a solution. And you would continue to the left. Anything to the left of negative 1 is a solution of that line. Okay, our last one here, just the regular old greater than. So again, the fat side came first, and it's pointing to the right. Here is negative 1, we circle it. There's no line below it, so I don't color it in, I keep it open. And then I'm going to color everything to the right. So this is an open circle, and I shaded everything to the right. So my possible solution is not negative 1 because that's not colored in. It's everything bigger, greater than negative 1. So it could be 0, that's bigger than negative 1. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, etc. So that's how our inequality symbols work. Okay, next. Okay, so what happens if it's written backwards? I always want the x to be on the left side. So I rewrite this as an x and a 3. If you notice, it's pointing, the pokey side is pointing at the 3. So when I rewrite it, I make sure it's still pointing at the 3. So this is the same as that original question. So I have an open circle on 3 because there's no line. And I have an arrowhead that matches this symbol, which means we shade everything to the right. Try it again. Write your x, write your negative 2. The pointy side is poking at the x, so I make sure it's still poking at the x. I do an open circle on negative 2, and I draw a line that faces the same arrowhead as my symbol right here. X is everything less than negative 2. Last one, x into negative 4. It was pointing at the negative 4, so we make sure it's still pointing at the negative 4. Find negative 4. This one is a colored circle, and we shade everything to the right. Greater than or equal to. So easy. So now you're going to practice a couple of these here on the bottom, where it just says graph the following inequalities and list 3 possible solutions. So I'll do the first one with you. So here's 4, I find it and I circle it. There's a line below, so I need to color it in. And then it's pointing to the right, so I'm going to shade to the right. 3 possible solutions. 4 was in that shaded area. 5 is in the shaded area. 6 is in the shaded area. Very easy. Possible solutions for R. Numbers 3 and 5 are exactly the same. On number 2, make sure you rewrite it. It was pointing at the negative 3, so make sure it's still pointing at the negative 3. In order to graph, the letter has to be on the left. So now we can graph it, shade, and get your 3 possible solutions. Go ahead and try numbers 1 through 6. Okay, so the last thing that we're doing today is we are now solving inequalities. To solve inequalities, we do the same thing that we did in the very first chapter when we solved equations. So in this example, we have something called like terms. 3x's plus 2x's is 5x's. Negative 2 plus 8 is the number positive 6. Bring down your inequality symbol, and your other number is a 56. Don't let these change to equal signs. They're not equal, so we don't have those little equal signs. We have inequalities. So now we solve this very easy 2-step equation. To solve an equation, we move the constant, we move the number to the other side first. So I had to subtract 6. So that's 5x is greater than 50. Then we get x by itself by dividing both sides by 5. So x is everything greater than 10. So now I'm going to graph that. I put a 10 on my number line. It's an open circle. There's no line, so I don't color it in. And you shade everything to the right. So what are possible numbers that are bigger than 10? Well, 11 is bigger than 10. 12 is bigger than 10. 13 is bigger than 10. Very easy. Let's try another one. So in this one here, again, I want the letter on the left, so I'm going to rewrite this. 4x plus 12 I put in the front, and then the 80 I put in the back. It was pointing at the 4x plus 12, so make sure when you rewrite it, it is still pointing at the 4x plus 12. So now that it's written with the letter on the left, I can solve. To solve, you subtract the constant first. So that's 4x is less than 68. Okay, so now we need to solve for x. So I'm going to divide by 4 and divide by 4. 68 divided by 4 is the number 17. So x is less than 17. So I can graph it. I put a 17 in the middle, open circle, shade everything to the left. Numbers smaller than 17 are 16, 15, 14, etc. So easy. Last but not least, we are solving again, but this time we have to think about our answers. So in this here, again, we solve by just subtracting 4 from both sides. So 2x is greater than 8. We get x by itself by dividing by 2. So x is greater than 4. I put that on my number line, open circle, shade to the right. So if x is bigger than 4, x is not 4. It's the number greater than 4. The only answer bigger than 4 is the number 10. Has to be bigger than 4. The solution has to be larger than 4, greater than. So go ahead and try the same thing with number 2 and number 3. On number 2, you need to combine like terms. So that's 6x, then a positive 6, and then a 60. Number 3, you have to distribute before we solve, and then move the constant, and then divide. So try number 2, and then try number 3. Then go ahead, flip to the back, and you can try solving those very easy questions on the back here. Solve for x, very, very easy.